Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another Make It Monday with Teresa. I'm Teresa, and today I'm going to show you how to paint a watercolor watermelon like this. Um, it is that time of year, right? It is the heart of summer, and we've been eating a lot of watermelon over at my house. And I know that a lot of people share our love of watermelon in the summertime. So I thought, why not teach you how to make a painting of a watermelon? So it's pretty simple. You just get yourself some watercolor paper. If you have your own paints, or if you want to borrow some, it's just a regular set of watercolor paints. Some water. I like to use 2 jars. So this clearly is my dirty jar. This is where I wash my brushes. And then this is my clean jar of water, and this is where I re-wet my brush. I don't always do a great job of separating them, but that's why there's 2 brushes. A pencil, if you have it. This is a very light pencil. It's a 2H for any of those of you that use drawing pencils, so it leaves a very light mark. So first we're just going to begin by making an outline, a very, very light outline of a triangle. So the front face of a watermelon slice. So I've just got what looks to me like a candy corn shape. I don't know if you can even see that. Maybe you can, if I tilt this, you can kind of see there's like that triangular shape forming. And then we'll do the side of the watermelon. So just make a little line out to the side and follow this line. These lines should be parallel. So follow this line, and then we want these 2 lines to be going the same direction, and we also want these 2 lines to be going the same direction. So just make sure that they are parallel. And then we're going to draw the rind. So very lightly we're going to draw where the rind would go. Okay, so that's just my little outline sketch. I wish I could make it so you could see that a little better. Too bright, huh? How about that? Does that help? Well, you can kind of see the shape that's forming here. So then we'll begin by getting a clean brush. Oh, and I forgot to mention, a paper towel is going to come in very handy today. So I'm just simply putting clean water on my brush. I'm not using any paint right now. And I'm wetting this spot where everything will be pink. So I'm wetting the front triangle, and I'm wetting the side of the watermelon wedge. Okay, and that's simply to make a wet paper to receive wet paint, because we're going to do a technique called wet on wet right now. So I don't know, if I hold this up, maybe you could see that the paper is wet. Yeah. Okay, so then we're going to start with our lightest color. When you do watercolor, it's best to start with your lightest color first. So I'm going to start with this kind of, this sort of pinky color. I'm going to blot my brush a little bit. And I just want to see how vivid is this color going to come up. Okay, so this looks pretty good. So I'm going to just wet on wet kind of give this a very light pink background. Ooh, even I want lighter than that. Okay. So we can see got a really like translucent pink going on here. And because we have pre-wet the paper, the water is doing half the work for us, spreading this translucent pink around. Okay, so you'll see that some of these areas are a little bit darker than others, and that is perfectly fine because that's the same as it is in nature and in a watermelon. So we're gonna leave that be. I'm gonna wash this out. We're gonna come back with a detail brush. I'm trying to find the one I want to use. This one. Not quite too small, but kind of a medium size. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of a darker pink on top. Okay, and then we'll start up here. And we're just kind of brushing this on. If you think about the flesh of a watermelon, it's not exactly smooth. There are all sorts of kind of divots and veins in the watermelon flesh. So I'm just trying to emulate that with my painting here. Again, this water is still quite wet. Okay. So that's our next step there, is just to kind of put on some splotchy pink. There might be spots where you feel like, ooh, that's a little bit too much, and what you're going to do is rip off a piece of paper towel and just blot it. That paper towel, since it's dry, will pick up a lot of the color from the wet paper and wet paint. Okay, but I'm pretty happy with how that looks so far. I'm going to let that dry just a little bit. And then I'm going to come back with our darkest color, this red. See how that's going to look. Okay, and then I'm going to, actually I'm going to re-wet this. Re-wet this surface here. But just the front triangle, not the side. Okay, I'm going to come back with this red. I'm going to blot. I'm going to use a much smaller piece of paper towel. I'm going to blot. So again, blotting just adds to the texture because, as we all know, the flesh of a paper, I'm sorry, the flesh of a watermelon is very textured. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit of red in here on this side. Okay, I think I want a little bit more, some little spots of density here. I think it's like usually towards the center of a watermelon, that tip of the watermelon slice, there's usually some darker color. So again, I'm going to blot. All right, now we're gonna get down to the rind here, and if you can see, there's this line that we made. So we're gonna follow that line with a yellowish green, and I think I'll probably add yellow and green at this point. little water, a little more green. So I'm just going to follow this line. And then I'm going to follow that line. Okay. Let's see. I kind of want to blend these segments of the watermelon together. So I'm taking a wet brush and I'm just kind of adding water. This red is still a little bit wet. So just as the flesh of the watermelon seems to kind of blend right into the rind, and we're going to do that. I'm going to add another layer of the green. And this is looking awfully dark, so I'm going to blot this. This is the wonderful thing about watercolor is while it's still wet, it's very forgiving. You can always pick up the color. So I'm just blotting, blotting, blotting. And then I think there just needs to be, oh, see, I just did it. I put my dirty brush in the clean water. Well, it's bound to happen at some point. I'm gonna hit this rind with just one little touch of darker green, maybe along the bottom here, just to give it some depth. Make it look a little less, what is the word? Fluorescent. Okay. And again, I'm going to try to blend that green line so it's not so sharp. All right, so that's what we have so far. We are going to let this dry very, very well. We don't want this this front of the watermelon to be wet at all. If you need extra time, let yours dry, but this does seem dry. Then I'm going to take the very smallest detail brush. Actually, that's not my smallest detail brush. Here's my smallest detail brush, can you see? And I'm going to put some black on it. And I will just paint little teardrop shaped watermelon seeds. They can be different sizes. They don't have to be perfect teardrops. And there we are. A finished watermelon watercolor painting. Perfect for summer. So I hope you enjoy doing this on your free time. And if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see next, please let Crystal or Becca or any of your Life Enrichment staff know. And I will see you next time. Have a great Monday. Take care.